What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. But today's video is very similar to the Kardashian video. It is conspiracy theories, but it is dark TV conspiracy theories. So these are conspiracy theories about TV shows that we all love and all know. And it was really hard finding one to even it out. I have 7. I was going to do 8, but I couldn't find an 8th one that was good enough for me. But the first one is, we're just going to get right into it. The first one is SpongeBob is actually a product of nuclear testing. I feel like a lot of people have heard this conspiracy theory. It's a very known conspiracy theory. So we all know the city that SpongeBob lives in is Bikini Bottom. Well, people believe that Bikini Bottom, the little area that SpongeBob lives in, is beneath the island of Bikini Atoll. This is an island that back in like the 1950s, the United States government did over 23 different nuclear bomb testings. So like the US government just kind of tested all these different nuclear bombs on this one island. And according to this theory, them doing all these nuclear testings affected the water and the life on the island and the life beneath the island in the water and stuff like that. Hence why the fish can talk, or the fish have legs, or the fact that a squirrel can live in Bikini Bottom. And fans claim that this is proven in this show because SpongeBob has so much like nuclear like explosions in the show. Like they have so many explosions happen in the show. Also, the name of the city is the same as basically the name of the island. But I thought that one was weird. I've heard that one for years, and I don't know if it's true or not. But that's all that these are. Every single one of these conspiracy theories I'm talking about are just that. They're theories. They have not been proven. So yeah. The next one is about a TV show I watched growing up. That the Rugrats, all of them are dead except Baby Dill and Angelica. So apparently this theory goes that Angelica has made up all of the babies except Baby Dill because they are all dead. Like they don't exist or anything. So Chucky, the little redhead kid, he died during childbirth along with his mother. Tommy, which is Dill's older brother, was a stillbirth. And then Phil and Lil, the twin siblings, were actually one child of an unknown sex that was aborted. So the theory goes that Angelica never got to meet these children because they didn't live past a certain time. So she made the children up in her head of what they would be like, their personalities and all that. This also kind of like explains the personalities of the parents, and they don't really care enough for their children. Like they don't keep an eye, like a very close eye on their children. This theory doesn't really make sense because if you think about it, Angelica is not in every single episode of the show. But I read that Angelica wasn't in every one of the episodes, and I was like, well, maybe in the episodes that Angelica's not in, it's her thinking, what would the kids be doing without her? But keep that in mind. That might be a big, big reason. So growing up, I watched a lot of Transformers, and a lot of Pokemon, and a lot of Power Rangers, and a lot of Go Diego Go, because I have a younger nephew who's a couple years younger than me, and my mom babysat him and his older sister. So that meant that we watched a lot of TV shows, like Handy Mandy and Bob the Builder. We watched all of those shows. So this theory is very funny to me because I watched a lot of Pokemon growing up with a younger brother. That's basically what he was to me. So I have never watched the show all the way through from episode 1 to episode whatever they're on now. But I've heard this theory, and it kind of makes sense when you think about it. But it also kind of doesn't make sense. It's just a really weird theory. And the theory is that Ash Ketchum from Pokemon has been in a coma through most of the show. So the theory goes that after a bike accident that Ash has in the first episode, this throws him into a coma. and hence why over the decades, almost 2 decades that Ash has been on TV, he has not aged past 10. Like, he's just not aged past then. So the theory is that he's in a coma. They say that basically everyone he meets, every like new person he meets in the show or new Pokemon that he meets in the show, figment of his manifestation from his inner psyche. So like his brain is trying to waken him up by like giving him scenarios that wouldn't necessarily be actually in real life. And then the adventures he goes on is basically like trials in his brain to wake him up, to get him to come back to the real world, like return to the real world. I thought that one was really cool because I guess it would make sense as to why he doesn't age, and why he keeps meeting new people and why he keeps having new adventures, and it's basically just his brain trying to come back to life. Very similar to the Pokemon one that I watched a lot of Pokemon growing up. I also watched a lot of Scooby-Doo growing up. Love Scooby-Doo. I have a Scooby-Doo shirt that I wear to preschool because I teach preschool. I have Scooby-Doo stamps that my uncle bought me because he knows I like Scooby-Doo. I own the live-action Scooby-Doos with Matthew Lillard. Those are my favorite Scooby-Doo movies. I own a couple of the like animated 2000s Scooby-Doos. I also own episodes on DVD of the original Scooby-Doo that came back out in like the 60s. And we're going to talk about the 60s version of Scooby-Doo. So a lot of people, if you've ever watched Scooby-Doo, the cartoons, you know that Scooby-Doo and his gang, they don't age. They stay the same age. They're in their late teens. And they've stayed the same age throughout the decades. Like, they have stayed the same age for decades. And this is because they're ghosts. They're dead themselves. The thing is that people think that since they don't age, and they just travel aimlessly throughout the United States, they have nowhere really to go, and they always uncover, fake people or ghosts who are actually real people. People are basically saying that since they're ghosts, they're proving the fake ghost. They're like uncovering the fake ones, and like I said, they're traveling aimlessly, have nowhere to go. Like, they're just constantly showing up in a place, and there just so happens to be a ghost there, and whatnot. But this theory is also very strengthened when you realize that in the show there are actual ghosts, ghost like energies in the show, and they seem even more terrified of these real ghosts than they do of the fake human ones. And this is because that whenever they encounter a real ghost, like an actual ghost presence, they're scared because they have to face their reality of, oh, I'm dead. I thought that was really cool. I've never heard that one. I've heard the one of like where it was like in an apocalyptic future, or that like Freddy and Shaggy were running away from being drafted for the Vietnam War. I've heard those. I had never heard that one. So the next one I heard a lot growing up because I have a step-grandma who loves the Smurfs. She owns pretty much the entire series, like the original cartoons, on DVD. So this theory includes the Smurfs and the fact that they're white supremacist. I'm not saying that they are. These are all theories. But I had heard this before, and I was like, you know what? We'll just add it into this video. The theory goes that all of the Smurfs are actually not a Nazi-like racist faction because they all wear pointed white hats. And their leader, Papa Smurf, wears a pointed red hat, which is very similar to the KKK. KKK. I had to make sure that was 3 Ks because I usually say 4. And then their villain, Gargamel, is a money-loving, big-nosed, dark-haired dude, which are all Jewish stereotypes if you're racist, and has a cat named Azrael. If you don't know who Azrael is, he is the angel of death in Jewish traditions. So they all look similar. All the Smurfs look similar to the KKK. their villain and his cat are Jewish. You see where people would think that, like, that's a white supremacist? So, yeah. Put that one in there. The next one, my sister, when she was alive, was a very big Eeyore fan. Like, she was a huge Eeyore fan. She had a coffee cup that she left at our house that had Eeyore on it. She had a bunch of Eeyore, like, glass collectibles. She had Eeyore shirts. She just had a lot of Eeyore. And I very much am similar to her. I love Winnie the Pooh. Anything Winnie or even Eeyore is really cool. I have a cup that says honey on it from Winnie the Pooh that I got for Christmas. So Winnie the Pooh, as you can tell, is probably, or is our next conspiracy theory. So Winnie the Pooh and all his friends have psychological disorders. I've heard this theory before, but I've always just skipped past it when I was reading, just because I was like, I don't want to read about it. But I was like, you know what, today I'm going to read it, I'm going to see what this is about. What is it that makes people think that Winnie the Pooh and all his friends have disorders? And that is, you can see one of them very clearly in the show. Eeyore has clinical depression. It is simple as that. You can literally tell by watching 15 seconds of Eeyore, you know he's clinically depressed. So, a lot of people were pointing this out. They're like, oh, you know, this one has this, and this one has this. Well, the Canadian Medical Association watched the show and diagnosed each of the characters. So, they diagnosed that Piglet has like regular anxiety disorder that a lot of people have. I have anxiety, so I can agree with Piglet. Tigger has a serious case of ADHD, which explains his bouncing around and his always talking and his constant just kind of needing to be moving. Owl is dyslexic. If you've ever heard Owl talk, it's very clear in how Owl talks that he has trouble. Very similar to me in this video. I have... Pooh himself actually has both ADHD and OCD and impulsive tendencies, such as his honey obsession and then his like repetitive needing to count. Like if you ever watch the show and you listen to Pooh count, he goes 1, 2, 3, 1. He like repeats himself. And then their one human friend has schizophrenia, and this basically means that Christopher Robin has schizophrenia, which means he's not right in the head, and that he's made up all these other characters with the same issues that he has. He's basically seeing himself in different versions of himself in these characters that he thinks is wrong with him. So I thought that one was pretty cool. I had heard that one before, and I always skipped past it, but I was like, you know what, we'll read it today. And for our last one, it's a little bit short because I couldn't find another one, but I've heard this theory quite a lot, and I've actually I have watched the movie, I just don't remember ever finishing the movie. And if you've ever watched the movie Peter Pan, you know that in Neverland, the boys never grow up. There was a theory that Neverland, which is the place where you can be a kid forever, was actually heaven. And Peter Pan himself was the angel of death that brings you to heaven. I've heard this theory quite a few times, and it makes sense because if you look at the Lost Boys, these are all very young boys who don't age, and they're in Neverland, which is where everything magical happens, you know what I mean? So basically, the Lost Boys in this theory are little boys who died at a young age, and they just never got to grow up. And Wendy and her siblings, I believe, go back at the end of the movie. They died, came to heaven, and then went back. But that's that theory, is that Neverland is heaven. Peter Pan himself is the angel of death. So yeah. But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you guys enjoy these kinds of like in-between videos where it's not true crime, it's different things. I like researching for them. I don't like having to film them in the same day that I research them, but I needed to get another video filmed, so thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later, and bye!